Good morning and welcome to Fox 29's News Now on this Wednesday morning. All of Pennsylvania and New Jersey went to the polls yesterday and the votes are in. As expected, Mayor Jim Kenney is heading back to City Hall for another four-year term. With 94% of precincts reporting, Kenney beat out Republican Bill Sangelini with 80% of the votes. This doesn't come as much of a surprise. The city has not elected a Republican mayor in nearly 70 years. Kenney gave a victory speech at his election headquarters in South Philadelphia last night, talking about his number one issue going into his second term.
Our education. We got to continue to educate our kids to keep them away from violence and crime. And then we have to deal with our crime problem by dealing with the guns and trying to get people who have not had a thorough education trained in skills that will allow them to drive a forklift or work in a warehouse or work on a construction site that will pay them the $40, $50 an hour they need to live and not have to pick up a gun and sell drugs.
The mayor said he's proud of the title he's acquired as the education mayor. Fox 29 did ask about reports that he's considering running for governor. Kenney said 2 years is a lifetime in politics and he will cross that bridge when he gets to it. Meanwhile, a third-party candidate is making history in Philadelphia. Kendra Brooks from the Working Families Party has won an at-large city council seat. 2 of those 7 at-large seats are earmarked for minority party candidates, and they had been held by Republicans for decades. But Brooks ran on getting Republicans out of City Hall. And throughout her campaign, she won endorsements from high-profile progressives like presidential candidate Elizabeth Warren. And in Chester County, Democrat Deb Ryan will take the district attorney seat. She beat out Republican Michael Noon. And another win for Blue in Delaware County. Jack Stolstemer will be the county's new DA, beating out incumbent Kate Copeland. Also in Pennsylvania, voters overwhelmingly supported Marsy's Law, the crime victim rights ballot question that was endorsed in TV ads by actor Kelsey Grammer. Grammer said he was never notified that his father's killer had been released from prison. 96% of votes across the state have been counted, and the referendum was supported by 74% of voters. Marsy's Law would create a list of new rights for crime victims, like giving them notice for pending court hearings. Yesterday's decision won't count just yet because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court still needs to rule whether Marsy's Law is actually constitutional. For more election results, visit our website at fox29.com. And in more political news this morning, Democrats took full control of the Virginia legislature for the first time in more than 2 decades, while the race for governor in deeply Republican Kentucky was too close to call, despite a last-minute boost from President Trump. Doug Luzader has more on these races from Washington.
We had 4 no-shows yesterday. There may be more today as administration officials refuse to bow to Democrats' demands.
In their crazed thirst for power, the Democrats are trying to tear our country apart.
President Trump at a rally last night in Kentucky, lighting up Democrats as expected. But look at the supporters lined up behind him, wearing shirts that say, "Read the transcript." A nod to President Trump's claim that the transcript of the phone call he made to the president of Ukraine shows he did nothing wrong. But on Capitol Hill, other transcripts are making headlines as Democrats begin to release testimony from witnesses, including former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, who said she was being targeted by President Trump's allies. Other potential witnesses and administration officials, though, are refusing to testify, infuriating Democrats.
This will be further evidence of an effort by the administration to obstruct the lawful and constitutional duties of Congress.
To the media, do your job and print his name.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul last night backed the president, calling for the media to name the whistleblower who touched off the impeachment inquiry. But for other Republicans, this may get dicey.
The president needs to give Republicans a place to lay down on this, which is to say, I wish he hadn't have done that. Right. That was unfortunate, but it's not a subject for impeachment. We've got to move on to more important business.
And we expect to see perhaps 2 more witness transcripts released today as Democrats prepare to open up what has been a closed-door process. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
And in local news this morning, police are hunting for 3 armed robbers they say stole a car over the weekend before going on a violent crime spree. The men allegedly committed 6 robberies just last night, all within the span of 2 hours. Fox 29's Steve Keeley filed this report.
The South Philly scores by the same holdup crew started Saturday night. Victim number 1 carjacked of their Nissan Rogue. Just 4 blocks from where it was neatly parked, abandoned, and found by police just 1 hour after it was last used. Unknown victim number 10. Carjacked in the 1100 block of Front Street, dumped here in the 1500 block right under 95. Inside, police just looking through the windows before they could get a warrant to search it and lift fingerprints and DNA, spotted a victim's wallet and a backpack inside.
It appears that there are some items in the vehicle in plain view. We didn't touch the vehicle. There's some items we could see through the windows that have been described by victims that have been taken. For example, there's a backpack in the very back of the vehicle, and we were told at least 1 backpack was taken. On the floor in the back seats, by the floorboards, there's a wallet. We were told that a wallet was taken.
This crew was just cruising the South Philly streets, all in the 3rd Police District between Oregon Avenue and South Street, stopping when they'd see a victim alone, walking or standing. Then they'd get out, get everything the victim had on them, and get back in and drive away.
We know that this vehicle was taken in a carjacking point of gun in the 1100 block of South Front Street, and it was recovered days later after the crime spree in the 1500 block of South Front Street. So we have good victims, good witnesses that are cooperating with South detectives. Some of the locations where these robberies took place, we did find exterior surveillance cameras.
3 victims after Saturday's carjacking police know of so far, then 6 within 90 minutes in a spree last night, starting here on Johnston Street. A second victim then at 8th and Oregon. Victim number 3 followed quickly at 9th and Oregon. Then on the South 7th. Then they found victim number 4. Victims 5 and 6 hit 6 blocks apart here on Tasker Street before dumping the SUV.
Is going to be towed to our police garage, and that's where it will be dusted for fingerprints. It will also be swabbed for any DNA that we can find, and there will be a full investigation conducted into this vehicle. So hopefully we can identify the perpetrator or perpetrators involved in these numerous robberies, point of gun, and also the initial carjacking where this vehicle was stolen. So this looks like to be about a 3 or 4 day crime spree using this particular vehicle. The good thing is now the vehicle is recovered, and now it's our job to see if we can identify the perpetrators, which we're going to do from the witness accounts, interviews with our victims, which we have many, the surveillance cameras that we found at the location of some of these robberies, and hopefully fingerprints and DNA that we can find inside or outside of this vehicle.
So South Philly residents should be on guard if on the streets alone at night. These 3 likely will strike again, since holdups usually don't get criminals enough to retire on. But Philly police hope fingerprints, DNA, and maybe some surveillance shots along the way may lead to some identifications, so they can retire the bad guys to one of those retirement homes with bars on the windows. In South Philadelphia, Steve Keeley, Fox 29 News.
And more in local news overnight. Delaware State Police are investigating a serious crash on I-95 in Wilmington. It happened just before midnight on I-95 southbound near Route 202. All lanes of 95 South were shut down for the crash for several hours. The crash unfortunately left a 34-year-old Philadelphia woman dead and a 5-year-old boy in critical condition. The man whose car the woman allegedly struck is also injured, but only suffered minor injuries. The cause of the crash remains under investigation. And in Bucks County, a trial will begin today for 22-year-old Sean Kratz. He is one of 2 cousins charged with brutally killing 4 young men in the summer of 2017. Kratz is accused of helping his cousin, Cosmo Dinardo, lure, kill, and bury 3 of the victims on their family farm in Solbury Township. Dinardo pleaded guilty back in May and was sentenced to life in prison. Kratz was expected to do the same, but stunned prosecutors when he backed out. We discussed the case and more this morning on Good Day.
Bucks County, 4 men lured, murdered, and buried a Solbury Township on the Solbury Township farm in Bucks County. Now, more than 2 years later, one of the alleged accomplices heads to trial this morning.
Sean Kratz is charged in connection with 3 of the murders in July of 2017. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. His cousin, Cosmo Dinardo, pleaded guilty last year and is currently serving a life sentence. And this is the voice of Cosmo Dinardo as he confessed.
So I dropped him. So he's paralyzed. So what he goes, I can't feel my legs, I can't feel my legs. I run, grab the machine at X, come back to T, run him over. Dead, instantly. I had gasoline that we used for our quads up there. A couple of jugs of it. I don't remember how many jugs, but they were full. So I took a jug or 2, doused him with it, and, Sean had the cigarettes. So I don't remember.
Wow, so Dinardo.
So you mentioned Sean.
He mentioned Sean. Ken Rothweiler, attorney, is here. So Dinardo, he got, 4 life terms?
Yeah, he'll be in jail for the rest of his life.
The rest of his life.
This is horrific. I mean, they shot him, they burned him, and buried him. All 3 of them.
Didn't they back over him one time,
And they backed over him with a backhoe. Yeah, it's horrible what happened.
So what are they saying Sean Kratz did?
He was an accomplice. He was there for 3 of the murders.
Okay.
And helped, helped.
Does he admit that he was there?
That's the interesting part of this trial. There's a confession tape. They actually have it on tape where he confessed, but then he pulled back that confession because originally he was going to plead guilty. If he pled guilty, he was going to get between 59 and 118 years. So I guess when he thought about that, he said, you know what? Better for me to just go to trial and see if I can win a trial because I'm going to spend the rest of my life in jail anyhow.
But so now he could get the death penalty, though.
He could get the death penalty, although Governor Wolf has put a moratorium on death penalty,
right.
So I doubt he'll actually, be executed. But he's going to probably serve the rest of his life in prison. But this issue of the tape is the whole issue in the case. Peruto, who's his lawyer, tried to suppress that tape. Judge ruled that it's coming in. So it's curious to me now as a lawyer how that tape is going to come in, because Peruto is actually probably going to introduce that tape, because he's going to claim that the prior lawyer was what he calls an agent of the state, because he helped coerce that confession. He also, that other prior lawyer, actually leaked that tape to the media. So Peruto's going to basically say that this guy's been railroaded.
This is Chuck Peruto, the attorney for Sean Kratz.
Chuck Peruto, who's Chuck Peruto Jr., his father. Chuck Peruto Sr. is a very esteemed lawyer here in Philadelphia for years.
And what do you think about the decision to let him testify?
Peruto said that's his only chance of potentially,
because it's always a gamble. You never know how, the jury's going to perceive him.
He's got nothing to lose.
He's got nothing to lose. The testimony is overwhelming in this case. He's going to be convicted unless he gets on the stand and for some way he convinces the jury that, he didn't do it. But I think it's going to be pretty impossible to do. I think it's interesting, too, whether Dinardo himself, they'll call him to testify.
Now, why would they do that?
Well, they'll...
So he did it.
Yeah, he did it. He helped me. He was there the whole time. When we poured gasoline on him and burned him and buried him, he helped me do the whole thing. So I think it's... trial's going to last about a week, and I think it's going to take a jury about 5 minutes to convict him.
So they will play the tape or they won't?
They will play the tape.
Because the judge said, we're going to play that tape.
The judge said we're going to play the tape. So now Peruto so the tape comes in, so now Peruto has to make a decision.
He's coerced.
Right. But Peruto makes a decision, do I let the prosecutor put the tape on, or do I put the tape on?
Get ahead of it.
Right, and that's what you try to do as a lawyer in a courtroom. If you know some bad stuff's coming out, you try to get ahead of it. You try to put it on yourself and try to make the best of it as you can with it.
So it's opening statements today.
Opening statements.
So we probably won't hear from Kratz until, you think it'll be today or tomorrow?
Probably won't be today. And so, they always make a decision, trial lawyers always make a decision. Do you want him on as your first witness? Do you want him on as your last witness? And people differ with regard to that.
They're really rolling the dice. Ken, good to see you.
Good to see you guys, Tim.
All right, 7:36. All right.
And more in local news overnight. An ATV shootout ended with a man being murdered. It happened around 7:45 last night on the 2000 block of North College Avenue. Police say a 25-year-old man was shot multiple times. He later died at the hospital. Another man was also shot. He is in stable condition. Police say the shooters took off on ATVs, leading to a chase. Officers were able to follow at least one of the suspects and arrested them. No word so far on the second suspect. And a wild scene in West Philadelphia when the driver of a U-Haul van struck someone, then slammed into a diner, sparking an explosion. It happened last night. Fire investigators say they believe the blast was gas-related from inside the restaurant. The driver and a pedestrian were taken to a local hospital. No word so far on their condition. And we now know the name of the man who police say they found tied up and beaten to death in his Ronhurst home. We first told you about this story yesterday on Good Day. Police responded to a call of a man in distress at a home on the 8400 block of Ogden Avenue just before 3 a.m. yesterday. They found a 59-year-old man partially tied to his bed with a massive head wound and multiple slashes to his chest. That man died at the scene. Police and friends identified the man as Al Chernoff, an animal advocate who ran Alley Cat Rescue. Police say a woman was seen leaving his home yesterday before officers arrived. So far, no arrests have been made. And police in Chester County say a woman's touching cancer story was all just a ploy to get people to hand over their hard-earned cash. And now we've learned there are additional charges pending against her in Delaware. Investigators say 32-year-old Jessica Smith preyed on the sympathy of others, claiming she was fighting cancer. And in doing so, she raised $10,000 in donations. But Delaware police say she didn't actually have colorectal cancer. Police say Smith raised the money through her GoFundMe and Facebook page, posting her struggles with alleged pain and treatment online.
I'm in a lot of bone pain, like my bones are very achy, but they told me that that was going to happen completely normal.
In a statement, GoFundMe says it is working with police and anyone who donated to be refunded in full. And police in Wilmington say there are more charges pending of identity theft and criminal impersonation of a law enforcement officer. And moving on to your Fox 29 weather authority. The Philadelphia area is slated for a more seasonable Wednesday with temperatures in the 50s and plenty of sunshine. Meanwhile, for Thursday, afternoon rain is in our forecast, though with slightly warmer temperatures. And temperatures will take a notable dip by Friday with a high of only 43 degrees. Here we have a look at current temperatures in our area. A pretty chilly 37 degrees up in the Poconos. Slightly warmer over in Lancaster with a high of 44 degrees at the moment. 50 degrees here in Philadelphia, and just marginally warmer down the shore in Wildwood, 51 degrees. And looking ahead to your 7-day forecast, again, it's going to be a pretty sunny and cool day this Wednesday with a high of 55. Those PM showers are expected tomorrow before blistery cold is expected. We're looking at some winter temperatures here with highs of 43 and 44 degrees on Friday and Saturday, respectively. And don't forget to download the latest version of the Fox 29 Weather Authority app to have the latest forecast right in your phone. And that is going to do it for us today at Fox 29's News Now. Be sure to catch us again tomorrow and follow us at fox29.com as well as our mobile app and across social media. And thank you for joining us this morning.